Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna. How are you all this evening? Okay?
Good.
Eager to hear Krishna Katha. So I thought, because this was a spontaneous arrangement, me speaking last night and tonight, I thought I'd keep it consistent. Last night we talked about the glories of meditating on the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which was one of my favorite chapters. And I thought this evening we continue with the same theme. We'll talk about the glories of meditating on the fourth chapter, which is also one of my favorites, as is the first, third, fifth, and etc., etc. But each chapter has a special flavor to it. Krishna is so expert. I was just thinking today, I think about this often, I think if we are to accept that Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, right? We accept that. And that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. We accept that. How wondrous is the Bhagavad Gita? We're actually getting instructions, personal instructions from God. What scripture in the world can boast such a claim that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has descended to this planet and for the benefit of all humanity for all time spoke these words? So we should put things into context. And when we approach Bhagavad Gita, we should put it in that context. That now I'm getting darshan. You know how you feel when you get darshan with a holy person, right? Your guru or another, maybe your diksha or shiksha guru or another very advanced devotee. You know how you feel, right? It's a very wondrous and inspirational feeling, right? So just think, every day we approach Bhagavad Gita and we get the darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Vani, in the form of sound vibration. So we keep that contextually in mind, that Krishna is here and he has taken the time to instruct me. And there's another thing to consider. The Bhagavad Gita is so mystical in the sense that, did you ever have a particular issue that you were dealing with and you happened to open the Bhagavad Gita? Because when I was a new devotee, it was me, Vishnu Jan Swami, and 7 brahmacharis. So we used to get really nice little tips of instruction from Vishnu Jan Swami. And he would tell us, he would say the Bhagavad Gita is dynamic in that as the Lord is reciprocal, the Bhagavad Gita is reciprocal. So if we have a particular challenge that we may be facing, a daily challenge or a continuous challenge, etc., and we open the Bhagavad Gita has a way of speaking to that issue. Just as Krishna spoke to Arjuna's issue, so Krishna can speak to our issue, whatever that challenge may be, small or large. So it's nice to keep the relevancy and the potency of Bhagavad Gita in mind. And then it becomes what it is. The words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we are able to have access to those words. So, with that being said, we'll talk about the glories of Bhagavad Gita, meditating on the 4th chapter. And I thought one thing I didn't do last night, I thought I would do this evening, is I just read first couple of verses of the Bhagavad Gita, just to give us a sample of what the 4th chapter is dealing with, right, in case you don't remember. So, let's see, this is Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vishvashvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam Vivashvam Manave Praha Manor Ikshvakave Bhavit. Thank you so much. The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivishwan, and Vivishwan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu sakalaneha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science, as it is, appears to be lost. Text 3. Se evayam maya tedya yoga prapta puratamaha bhakto sime sakacheti rahasyam yetad uttamam. Who can tell me in these first 3 verses what word appeared repeatedly throughout all 3 verses? Yoga. Yoga appears repeatedly throughout. And Krishna, you know, he talks Imam Vishvashvate Yoga, right? And the science, Prabhupada gives in the transliteration, the science of one's relationship to the Supreme. And Yogo Nashta Parantapa. So, again, the science of one's relationship with the Supreme. Yoga Prokta Puratana. And yoga is defined as the science of yoga. So, I think Krishna mentions yoga about 120 times in the Bhagavad Gita, and contextually, he gives a different spin to it each time. The first time that Krishna mentions it, he talks samatvam, right? Samatvam. So samatvam means Ishwarada? Equal poised, equanimity. I was an English teacher, so synonyms. Steady, stable, right? Just to get in mind what how Krishna defines yoga, first off. Equal poised, equanimity, steady, stable. This is yoga, as Krishna introduces it. But here, in the 4th chapter, he's getting a little deeper. Yeah. The science of one's relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The science of yoga. Doesn't say, you know, the whimsy, the speculation. It's the science, it's the exacting science of yoga. Every time I lecture to yoga teachers of the Bhagavad Gita, I tell them this is a science. Yoga is a science. It's an exacting science, and the philosophy helps us to understand the exactitude of the science. How to practice in a way that we can make tangible advancement in our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is Bhagavad Gita. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, because you are my devotee, as well as my friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vishvashvataha kattam etad vijaniyam tvam adao proktavam ti. Arjuna said, the sun god Vivishwan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? So in the beginning in particular, it's a series of questions and answers. Perfect questions, perfect answers. This is the original version of the perfect questions, perfect answers. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava charjuna tanyaham veda sarvani natvam veta parantapa. Personality of Godhead said, many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. Who knows what Krishna is starting to do right now?
Establish eternity, the soul of eternity.
That, he's also establishing his authority. Right? He's establishing his distinction between him and Arjuna. Arjuna is a great noble soul. And one may say, why should we listen to Krishna? What is his authority? So he begins to establish his authority. What does he say? You've had many births, Arjuna. I have many births. Right? Many births that you have had, all these kings, and I have had. And he's saying that here. You have had many births. I have many births. But I can remember all of them, and you cannot. So he begins in the very front part of the 4th chapter to establish why we should listen to him. Because he is an authority, he's the supreme authority. In the next verse, he continues with the establishment of his authority. He says, Ajo pisan navidyatma, bhutanam ishvaro pisan, prakritim swam adishtaya, sambhavam yatma mayaya. Although I am unborn, and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So again, Ajo, I'm unborn, right? My transcendental body. I appear, but it's not an ordinary body. It's not a body like ordinary people have, that has birth and growth and development and diminution and ultimately dwindles and dies. It doesn't go through the 6 changes. My body, Krishna is saying, is transcendental, and I am unborn. So again, he's establishing his position further. Then, yada yada hi dharmasya glanirvavati bharata abhyuttanam madharmasya tadatmanam srijanyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of your religion, at that time I descend myself. Unlimited, unfathomable mercy that the Lord, he's establishing, he's the supreme. He comes again and again. He never abandons us. He never abandons humanity. No matter how sinful it becomes, Krishna promises that I will come again and again and again. To, if Dharma has broken down, to reestablish Dharma. So, you see, these series of points is establishing who Krishna is and what is his authority to speak these words and for us to listen to these words. Then, Parituranaya sadhunam, vinashaya chatuskritam, dharma samsthapanartaya, sambhavami yuge yuge. to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. Again, to take care of business, right? The pious are there, and by virtue of their piety, they have earned the right to have darshan of me through form, nama rupa guna lila, name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Just read maybe one more. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyapva deham punar janma naitimam eti sorjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So we can celebrate anybody's birthday, but will that celebration deliver us from birth, death, old age, and disease? And Krishna says, no, my birth will. This is not an ordinary birth. And just by meditating on Krishna's appearance, thus we have Janmashtami, celebration of Krishna's appearance, and every time Janmashtami comes around, it's a wonderful and inspiring occasion. All the devotees are enthusiastically chanting and hearing of the glories of the Supreme Lord. That's not ordinary birth. And Krishna makes that declaration that if you meditate on my Janma, then you can go back home, back to Godhead. So this is a little dabbling into the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And now we're going to hear from the Gita Mahatmya why meditating on the fourth, what effect does meditation on the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita have on us? So, Lord Vishnu continues to Lakshmi Devi. He tells her in Kashi, Varanasi, right? There's a temple, and in that temple lived a great Brahmin, and that Brahmin's name was Bharata. So Bharata was a great devotee, and you know what habit he had every day? His habit every day was to chant the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita and meditate deeply on the words of Krishna as contained therein. So one time while Bharata was on pilgrimage, as you all know, many of you have been on pilgrimage, it can be quite exhausting. You're going from Tirtha to Tirtha, and at the time of Bharata, I'm sure it was on foot. We take an SUV now in India, and we go from Tirtha to Tirtha, right? Or you hire a nice luxury van, so it's not so stressful. So you can imagine, at this time, Bharata's time, he traveled on foot, and he was going from Tirtha, so he was quite exhausted. So he sees two trees, and the blessing of the tree is the tree provides what? Shade and shelter. So he sees these two bale fruit trees. Have any of you had bale fruit before? Yeah. I remember I was a brahmachari first time in India. And that was 1976, the first time I went. And one of the first things they gave me was bale fruit juice. They said, "Here, Prabhu, drink this. This is." And I said, "What is this juice? What is this?" He said, "It's bale fruit." I said, "What is a bale fruit?" And then he showed me, this round. And Krishna used to play ball with bale fruit, and we drank it, and it was delicious. So the bale fruit. So underneath this bale fruit tree, it was quite large, and there were two of them. Bharata took rest, and he used one of the roots of the bale fruit tree as his pillow, and the other one, the other root of the other bale fruit tree, he used for his legs, to prop his legs up. Now, that's exactly the way I sleep. I always use something for my head and something for my feet. And when I was a brahmachari in Radha Damodar, we used to travel in the van. We used to use the tire as our pillow. Yeah, our tire. And then Prabhupada, we told him that, and he laughed, and he said, "You have your arm." He said, "Your arm is softer." Use your arm. Thank you, Prabhupada. Wow. Amazing what little tips your guru can give you, right? Don't eat. So, Bharat rested his head on the one root and his feet on the other root, and he took rest. And then, after a while, after some time resting there, he continued on his journey, and something miraculous happened to those trees. In 6 days, they withered and died. Now, one may think, by hearing that, what kind of disease did Bharat have? Just by touching, he killed those trees. But actually, as we know in the case of Nalakuvera and Managriva, right? What curse were they given? Huh?
The kids know it, no? Kids tell what curse Nalakuvera.
What curse did Nalakuvera and Manigriva receive?
They got cursed to become trees because they didn't cover themselves properly in front of God.
Yes. So what's lesson 1? Cover yourself properly. Unless you want to be a tree. Because we see historically in Shastra, one of the curses or one of the destinations of curses if you don't behave appropriately is to take birth as a tree. So after Bharat left, 6 days, those 2 trees withered and died. The 2 souls from those trees. This is a great thing about our philosophy of Krishna consciousness, right? Death is part of life, right? We understand that the soul is eternal. The whole 2nd chapter, Krishna is establishing that point. Why are you lamenting? This is not worthy of you, the noble soul, Arjuna, Partha, Kunteya. You come from, look at the bloodline that you come from. Why are you lamenting in this way? The soul is eternal. You cannot be slain, nor can you slay. So, the philosophy of Krishna consciousness is really, if we understand it and we meditate on it and apply it in our life, it kicks out fear. Because one of the greatest fears that people experience is the fear of death, right? My father was a very strong man. He was a semi-pro boxer at one point in his life. He was a street kid from the streets of Newark, New Jersey, and he had very little fear. But the only time I saw fear in his eyes was on his deathbed. Because you can be strong, you can be powerful, you can have so many of those qualities, you can be wealthy, etc. But at the time of death, if you don't know that there is no death, then you're going to be afraid. So this is a very practical lesson for us. And I've seen, first of all, Srila Prabhupada. When Srila Prabhupada, I had the fortune of being present when Prabhupada, the days before his departure, my godbrother Sridhar Maharaj, my godbrother Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, when they left their bodies, for instance, Sridhar Maharaj, he was sitting up and he was meditating on a picture of Radha Madhav and Srila Prabhupada. And there's a lot of stories of devotees at that critical juncture where there was no fear, because this philosophy of Krishna consciousness kicks out that fear, because we know we're in good hands. Not with Allstate, but with Krishna. Krishna will protect us, and he promises that. My devotee never perishes. Never perishes. So, these two souls, their bodies, the trees, withered, died, the two souls leave, and what happens? They take birth in the home of a pious Brahmin. So that pious Brahmin, both of those souls took the bodies of female bodies, so they were sisters, in the home of a Brahmin. So the Brahmin was very pious, he was very dharmic. He went on pilgrimage to where? Kashi, Varanasi. And who lived in Kashi? Who?
Kashi Vishwanath Shiva.
Huh?
Kashi Vishwanath. Kashi Vishwanath.
Yes, Vishwanath's there. But what?
But he's gone.
Bharat. Bharat lived in Kashi. You starting to catch the connection here? So, the two girls, the two sisters, in the accompaniment of their father, they're in Kashi and they're wandering the streets of Kashi. And the two girls see Bharat. Now, one of the things we find out that, yes, they were cursed, but as part of the curse, they were given the blessing that they would be liberated if they came in contact with Bharat. Right? So they came in contact with Bharat, he liberated them, and then they see him again. They immediately recognized him, because that was part of the blessing, the curse blessing, the curse benediction. One was they would be cursed, but then they would not lose awareness of who they were, where they were, etc. So they immediately saw Bharat and recognized him as the Brahmin who took shelter under them in their tree body and who actually caused their liberation. The girls approached him and immediately paid their obeisances. And they started offering their respects, and Bharat was surprised what's going on. So the girls tell Bharat the story of how, because of him being there and him, you know what he was doing when he was under the tree? He was reciting the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So because he did that, they received their liberation. So Bharat was very surprised, and especially when they told him. They recounted the whole story to them, and then recounted to him, to Bharat, how they were cursed. So the curse was interesting. They obtained tree bodies on the bank of the Godavari at the sacred place called Chinnapapa. And there at that place, I don't know, we don't have Srinivas here today. Yesterday he told me every town I mentioned, he knew where it was. It's great. Does anyone know where Chinnapapa is? No? We'll have to ask Srinivas when we see him. Yeah, it's in Maharashtra. So there lived a rishi named Satyatapa, who performed great and difficult austerities. In the hot season, he performed Panch Agni Yajna. Did anyone ever see someone performing Panch Agni Jagna? I saw it was outside of Vrindavan. Panch Agni Jagna means that the yogi, in the heat of the summer, now you can imagine, right, how hot it is in India in the summertime, right? When the first time I went to India in the summertime, the air conditioning didn't work. So I knew Krishna didn't want me to sleep because I'm a very light sleeper, so I just stayed up all night till they fixed the air conditioner. But it's very hot, as you all know. So I saw one yogi standing there. He was standing in the tree pose. You know the tree pose? Okay. So he's standing in the tree pose, and around him was a circle of fire, blazing fire. So that's Panch Agni Jagna. So this particular yogi, austere yogi, whose name was Sachatapa, he performed this great and difficult austerity, the Panch Agni Jagna, in the summertime, and he would immerse himself in cold water in the wintertime. Now, have any of you ever done that? It's quite a trend right now, you know, amongst the wellness people to take these ice plunges. Have any of you ever done this? Okay.
Yeah, well.
I was traveling on Radha Damodar, and we had to take a bath, and there was no bath water on the bus because the bus was a temple, but it didn't have a shower. So we were in the mountains in the wintertime, and the head of the bus, the brahmachari in charge of the bus, he said, okay, it was about 4 o'clock in the morning, so everyone go out and shower. And we walked out, and it was all snow. Prabhu, where are we going to shower? He said, well, you don't go in the snow, you go into the stream. There's a stream over there. So that's what we did. We walked into the stream, and we just laid down in the stream, and you heard about 12 male voices screaming like little girls. So I can relate to such a tapa's austerity, you know, Panchagni in the summer and ice water in the wintertime. So he was very austere. By virtue of his austerities and devotion to Krishna, because we just don't perform austerities. No, that's not we're not tapasis in that sense. But we perform austerities to increase our devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I remember one time there was this one devotee, and he was a brahmachari, and we used to go through all kinds of crazy things when we were brahmachari. He was only eating dates. That was it. He decided, no one told him, he decided that he was going to be austere in his eating. And then they told Prabhupada that he was only eating dates. Prabhupada said, why? Why is he eating only dates? We have sumptuous prasadam. He should take prasadam and go out and preach. So Prabhupada was not a big fan of these kinds of artificial austerities. He wanted us to be practical. Our Krishna consciousness movement is, we are a yoga of practicality, because everything that we do is to facilitate our devotional service. Prabhupada had a list of items that the devotee should follow, and you all know this. What was the first thing on the list? Malati tells this story.
Health.
Huh?
Health.
Health. That was the first thing that Prabhupada had on the list, health. Because unless we're healthy, if we keep our bodies healthy, then we can perform much devotional service. And Prabhupada wanted us to do that. He never encouraged us to be artificially austere. Our austerity in our particular lineage is to preach, is to go out and to approach people and try to introduce them to Krishna consciousness. How many of you have ever done gone out and approached people. Right. It's austere. Your ego,
Makes you humble.
huh?
Makes you very humble.
Makes you humble, and that's the whole point. Why do sadhus beg? Because they really need. Sadhus don't really need anything. A true sadhu. Then there's those with fake sadhuism, but a real sadhu doesn't need anything. They beg because it helps them cultivate humility. I can't remember the story. I think his name was Lal Babu. He was a wealthy businessman. And then he was also a great devotee of Lord Krishna. And when he retired from business, the first thing he did is he went out and he begged. Because you can imagine being a big businessman. You know how it is. You're a businessman. You have people working for you. You're making lots of money. So your ego blows up more and more and more. And he realized. So what the first thing that he did is he went out and he begged. And all just to cultivate that humility. So by virtue of his austerities, this Brahmin attained the lotus feet of Krishna. So obviously he had impeccable sadhana, which were fortified by his austerities. Means you rise early, you do your japa meditation, you render service to the deities, render service to the Vaishnavas in any way that you can in order to cultivate the Bhakti Lata Bij within the heart. Lord Indra noticed this Brahman's austerities. Why did he notice it? Because Lord Brahma himself noticed, and Lord Brahma started going to him every day to ask questions about spiritual life. So when Lord Brahma was taking darshan of this Brahmin, such a tapa, Indra noticed that. And you know how Indra is, he doesn't like when people become powerful. All of a sudden he's thinking, my kingdom, me being king. So it made Indra nervous. So what does Indra do? As he always does.
Tries to stop him.
Huh?
Tries to stop him.
He creates what?
Tries to stop.
Tries to stop him.
Yeah, he creates some kind of scenario. So in this particular case, he calls up two apsaras.
That seems his weapon all the time.
All the time. And he tells these two apsaras, who are the two souls that inhabited the Bale tree. So they try to seduce such a tapa by dancing and singing and exposing a little bit, trying to entice him. And he gets very angry and he curses them. Because you have done it, just like Narad Muni, with the sons of Kubera. They acted inappropriately, they weren't dressed appropriately. So Narad Muni, for their benefit, he curses the two sons to take birth as trees. So such a tapa, same thing. He curses the apsaras, you take birth as trees, bale fruit trees. And they're sincere, they're following the instructions of Lord Indra. So they immediately prostrate themselves and they beg him, to give some kind of something that will help them to be relieved of the curse. So he gave them a curse benediction. Curse was, you will take birth as the Bale tree, and when you take birth there, Bharat will come and he will liberate you. So they were happy with that. So Apsaras begged his mercy, and Satyatapa said, you'll only be free from this curse by the touch of Bharat. He also blessed them with full remembrance of all that transpired. They informed Bharat When you were under the tree, you were under us as the tree, you were continually reciting the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. By hearing that recitation, we became free from the curse, took birth in a devotee family, and lost all desire for material enjoyment. So the potency of hearing, we lose desire. Again, Krishna consciousness is not artificial. It's not something that we try to impose upon ourselves or others artificially. But the process itself, if we seriously put in our life a sadhana, repeatedly and continuously, then the effect of that sadhana, we lose taste. Param drishpa nivartate. We gain a higher taste. And it doesn't matter what station of life we're in. I mean, we can all feel confident in that no matter what your situation, that if we follow Krishna's instructions, whatever the distraction you feel that's in your life as a grihastha with your family and your kids and your responsibilities, etc., Krishna will take care of you. Krishna allows you to experience what he tells Arjuna to incorporate within his life. Do your duty, but you're not entitled to the results. When I first read that, I didn't know what that meant. I couldn't figure that out. Do my duty, but I'm not entitled to the results? How is that possible? I'm going to act, and there's going to be results to my action. And how is it? But herein, in this story, we can understand that we simply serve Krishna, Guru and Krishna. And we lose the desire for self-enjoyment. Everything becomes sacrifice. Everything becomes offering to Krishna. Now, this is a point I make when I teach Bhagavad Gita to people who don't know the culture of Bhagavad Gita. I tell them that life is only really enjoyed, really experienced when there's gratitude. And the way Krishna has given it, the mechanism that Krishna has put forth in the Bhagavad Gita to demonstrate is by performance of yajna, sacrifice. I ask them, do you make the seeds? Do you make the earth, or the sunshine, or the air, or the rain? No, all of these things are given to us. And when they're given to us, then we experience the benefit of that in the form of fruits and vegetables and dairy and all of these wondrous foodstuffs. So, in order for life to be complete, there has to be this sacrifice, this recognition. Whenever someone does something nice for you, right? Aren't you grateful?
Yes.
Right? Let's say you don't feel well, and then your friend finds out, calls you up and says, I'll be right over with dinner for you. Right? You're so grateful. Look at this person. You have a flat tire, or your car breaks down 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, what am I going to do? Call your friend. Of course, now we have Uber. Uber is destroying our relationships. You're broken down. Call Uber. I don't have the app. Install it. That's what friendship has amounted to nowadays, right? But no, I've had experience where the first time I got Bhagavad Gita, I tell this story. I was coming home from work. At that time I was a musician. I did a concert in Cornell University, and I took the bus back to New York City and realized I had no money. because I thought I was going to get paid, and the company says, yes, we'll pay you, it'll be in the mail, we'll send you a check. And I was thinking I was going to get paid, so I had no money. So I'm in Port Authority, I can't even get a bus home. You know, the bus is like $3 or $2.50, whatever it was at that time. And I'm sitting on my suitcase, because I called a friend. And he didn't say call Uber because there was no Uber in 1972. So he came and he was in New Jersey, and I was waiting for him, and I was sitting on my suitcase, and a devotee came, Devi Shakti. You may know her. She's been in Vrindavan for many years. And she came and she slid up to me, literally slid up to me, and handed me a Bhagavad Gita. And I took the Bhagavad Gita. I was already reading a Bhagavad Gita, but not Prabhupada's, and it was like big and beautiful, and it said Bhagavad Gita. I said, thank you, thank you. I said, but I had no money. And she said, oh, I never give away, these books are so valuable. I said, I'm not debating that. It looks amazing. I said, yes, of course. So she gave me the Gita, and the rest is history. So we can understand, you know, the value of friendship. So by hearing the recitation, they became free from the curse, and then they lost all their desire for material enjoyment. So this is the program. Yeah, there was a Sanskrit scholar, and I asked him, you know, what was Krishna's intention for yoga for Arjuna? What was he meaning? You know, the meaning, because yoga has many different contexts in the Bhagavad Gita. And he said, in that second chapter, when Krishna is talking with Arjuna, yoga means methodology. He's given Arjuna the methodology by which he could become free from his attachments. So these two souls were blessed with freedom from their attachments. And as a result of hearing the Bhagavad Gita and having that wonderful liberating experience, they also continue to recite Bhagavad Gita for the rest of their lives and achieve the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Hare Hare Krishna. Any questions?
Not a question, but a comment
Please.
about the Uber thing. So we were coming back from Sadhu Sangha, our tire burst. So I called him, Gopavinda Prabhu, and he was not far from us. So the kids sat in the back. There were 5 kids in a space of 3. Me and Naradi somehow got a tire. It's a Memorial Day weekend. On Monday, we were like panicking. We were able to get a new tire, got the tire, but the kids went back with him and family. So this is how the loving relationship between devotees were so helpful to take the kids at least.
Yeah, we were talking about that last night, right? The loving the community and the community spirit, and how it transcends inconvenience. Really, it really you want to serve, right? You want to serve a friend, because the one thing that Bhakti teaches us is that love is selfless. That is the meaning of love. It is selfless. So yeah, we may be inconvenienced, but if you love someone, that inconvenience is my pleasure, is my honor, is the blessing that you are giving me. Imagine how our perspective changes in life. And we see why so many people are so stressed out. So many people taking, tranquilizers, drugs, to try to ease their anxiety. because their universe, they're in the center of their universe. And everything revolves around their need and their desire. And it doesn't work that way. I mean, maybe sometimes it does, but not a lot. And that's very frustrating. I want this, I need this. But in Krishna consciousness, what do?
Serve.
Yeah, we put Krishna in the center. Right? What's Krishna's need? What's Krishna's desire? May inconvenience you, but you don't care. Because you have this loving relationship. See, community with Vaishnavas is a mechanism to help us understand selfless love. We see each other in it from a different perspective. It's not all about me. When we get that opportunity to serve, we embrace it. And we experience a joy that you don't get by receiving. Harvard University did a study, and the theme of the study, of the research, was, do people experience greater happiness by receiving or by giving? And to make a long story short, I don't want to go through the whole thing, what they did, they found that the group that gave, they were given money. Okay, two groups. One, they were given money. This group, you could spend it on yourself. This group, you can give it if you want. They neither were, it wasn't imposed upon them. They had the choice. And they found that the group that gave their money to a good cause, to a needy person, whatever it may be, experienced much greater happiness. We're so fortunate we're given that opportunity all the time to serve, to experience love. When Rupa Goswami talks about the 6 items of love, what does he say? To give gifts, to receive gifts. To give prasadam, to receive prasadam. To lend your ear, to give your ear. Right? And also to speak in confidence. That's Rupa Goswami's definition, the 6 items of love, of loving exchanges amongst Vaishnavas. Everything that we do in relationship to Vaishnava is purification. We have senses. Sense of sight, the sense of hear, smell, taste, and touch. Just by touching a Vaishnava, embracing a Vaishnava, that sense of touch is purified, transcendentalized. Everything that we are given is initially meant for our purification, but ultimately it is meant to have us understand that giving of oneself selflessly, with no self-interest, is the experience of true joy. And to give to Krishna, Krishna becomes the center of our universe. Krishna is the center of our house. Krishna is the center of our finances. Krishna is what we want our kids to become. That we want to give our kids the opportunity to become devotees of Krishna. Everything that we do, our friends, if we're at work, you want the opportunity to speak, to give Krishna consciousness to your workmate, or someone you meet on the beach. My son used to say to me, "Daddy, stop preaching to these people on the beach." I just can't help it. I tell him, it's not my fault. Somehow or another, the conversation goes there. He says, no, you manipulate the conversation. somehow or another you sneak Krishna in. So that's, that's our joy. That's our pleasure. It's to give. And to give freely. Any other question or comment? Yes. Sure, please.
Yeah, about giving.
It's not only questions, if you have observations, realizations that you'd like to share, please also.
Like Srila Prabhupada said, the biggest gift you can give to somebody is giving that person a chance to get out of this cycle of birth and death. Any other gift you give will not solve that problem, no matter how much money you give. So we always see that when we talk to somebody about Krishna, and if we inspire that person, he or she, that joy you feel within cannot be explained, Whether the person takes a book, the person takes to chanting, anything to inspire them to take Krishna consciousness. And it's easy. Srila Prabhupada mentioned the little girl, I believe her name was Saraswati, I don't know whose daughter it was, I forget. Malini. And she said, she's preaching, she says, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we all have that, that we can inspire others, And the important thing is, you get more by sharing. We can't be misers. So the gift we have been given is our responsibility to share it with others. And that's what Srila Prabhupada always wanted us to do.
One time I was out in this little town, I don't even know where it was, Kentucky or Kansas or someplace like that. And I was out in the parking lot and I was distributing, I had Gitas, hardbound Gitas, and it was really a tough day. No one was stopping, they were like looking at me like I was a Martian. And so I was getting really frustrated. I sat down, taking a little break, because it was the summertime and it was really hot. And so I just said, okay, Lord Chaitanya, you are testing me. I know you are testing me. And I can give up right now, and no one would blame me. I've been out here 8-9 hours already. I've only done a little bit. No one would blame me. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going back out on the lot. Remember we talked about our minds and how you have to deal with it. You have to beat it with a shoe. Either you beat it with a shoe, or let your wife beat it with a shoe. So I was beating my mind with a shoe, because my mind said, you're out here 8 hours, it's hot, you're tired, you haven't eaten, you've done enough. You showed Krishna that you're sincere. And then I thought, I prayed to Lord Chaitanya. I said, please, Lord Chaitanya, please let me go out. I went out, next person. Oh, I've been looking for this book. I heard about this book. Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, I'll give you a donation. And I just went back and I just thought, oh my God. Krishna is God and he reciprocates. So you should also always have that faith. Just like you know that your friend will reciprocate with you, right? And what does Krishna say? Bhoktaram jagnatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutam. He's your best friend. So as you know, if you call up Ishwari Radha, she's going to come, she's going to pick you up, or Gopal Brindapal, and they're going to bring you prasadam, or they're going to, whatever you need, You have that confidence, right? In your friend. Suridam sarvabhutam. If you can have that confidence in your friend, then what about your best friend, Krishna? We have that confidence. And here's how it works. That even if there's something challenging going on in your life, you can't figure it out, whether it's financial or health or whatever it is, it's so challenging you can't figure it out. You're thinking, why is Krishna putting me in this situation? But you surrender to it, knowing Suridam Sarvabhutam, Krishna is my best friend, and obviously he's doing this for a reason. What is that reason? You may not know it in the beginning, but you know what the beauty of it is? Eventually, Krishna is so kind, eventually he reveals to you what that reason was. But he may not reveal it he may see, test your sincerity. He'll test your sincerity, whether you have that faith or not. You're being challenged. Krishna, why is this happening? Why is this happening? No, no. It's for my benefit. I have a mantra, I always say it. Krishna does not do things to me, he does things for me. So whenever something comes up and I can't figure it out, I just say, this is for me, no doubt. Krishna's doing this for me. And 100% of the time, that's what happened. Any other question or comment or observation?
Just a comment.
Mhm.
You talk about giving, to give. There's another wonderful word that is called forgive. You put a for in front and then you give. It's not tangible. When you give something, it's something tangible. When you forgive someone, it's not tangible. But actually the biggest benefit, who get? The person that is forgiving. And I think many people say, okay, I'm forgiving someone. They think that they are giving them a favor. Actually, the favor is not the person you're forgiving. The favor is yourself. Because once you forgive someone, the burden of whatever lie in between you is gone. That means the best thing is to forgive. Okay, remember that to give and to forgive. It's intangible, but it's a lot of benefits to yourself, not to the other person.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
I would like to say something.
Sure. Shri Hari. Shri Hari.
You know, there's a
So on.
you know, there's a saying, God hates a vacuum. And when you think about, you know, the energy that you give out, you always get it back. And you know, I have seen this many, many times in my life. And you know, whether it's doing seva, or it's you know, sharing Krishna consciousness, or sharing anything, it always it's an energy that comes back to you. And that's what I have to say. Thank you.
I want to say, I met Shri Hari at a yoga kirtan. This was about 2 years ago now? 3 years ago. And the one thing I instinctually felt, he was always willing to serve. It was spontaneous for him. I'm all thumbs, and Shri Hari is all ability to fix things. So I would call him up, Shri Hari, I can't figure this out. I'll be right over. And he comes right over, and he looks at it, and he figures it out, and he fixes it for me.
It's problem solving.
That's it. Yeah, and he's solving my problems. And even was it yesterday or today when I called you and he said I'll be right over.
That was yesterday.
Yeah. Called him up and I need some help here. I'll be right over. And also Suresh. Just, all of you really, in many different, I'm just highlighting a few practical things.
Everybody has a specialty.
Everything has this, yeah. Suresh knows that I'm technologically impaired with computers. So I sit and I freeze and I call up Suresh. Suresh, I need help with this. Don't worry, Prabhu. I'll get on Zoom right now. And there he is. Huh?
You should make a list of everybody's specialty, and then
That's
we
a
have a
good-
problem.
That's a good idea. I need that list. I am such a dinosaur.
To be honest, I was telling Lalita the other day, we have a list of, in our group, we have a group now, a community,
Right.
and in one we have to create another group saying what we are good with. For example, somebody is good with realty, okay, here. Okay? And somebody is good with electronics, somebody is good with that. We have to list that there, and then we know if we need a help. We can ask, even if it has to be paid.
Yeah, pay the devotee instead of paying somebody else.
Exactly.
You know,
They-
like your wife do Ayurvedic and things like that, and she does many conferences, then she posts that conference there, you know. Then we know what is going on, who is good with what. You know, actually, you like it or not, this is called, what is called networking. If you go in a conference, there's networking, it's okay. We can create our own networking group. Okay, if you agree, I can create that.
So Alachua has been doing that for many years now. They have a directory. They have like 1,000 devotees. And the devotees put in that directory their name, their address, their contact information to the degree that you want to reveal your contact information. And they also have where you can say what you do. You know, so you can do that because it is much more desirable to give devotees money, you know, than to give it to some, you know, some. And you look at the real hardcore religion, community-based religion, like the Hasidic Jews, for instance, in New York City, Brooklyn. They interact with each other. You know, they have their own transportation. It's a community. The businesses, they do business with each other. They are you are guaranteed to thrive if you move into that community and you're Jewish, because they support. And there's no reason. Of course, we have an abundance of IT. I don't know what we can do with all that. We don't have IT. Maybe we can figure something out. But like for instance, my wife now, she made the colossal step of quitting clinical corporate medicine, walked out from, you know, a job that paid very well, and she said, can't do this anymore. I really need to be on my own. And now she's struggling how to figure out not what she does best, and that's cure people of their illness, but how to set up a business. You know?
Some of us have the skill already.
Yeah, and so what
What's
she
their own business?
so what she has to do now, she has to go out and she has to pay web developers, you know, social media developers, you know, she has to pay people like that. And if we have that kind of expertise, you know, in our community, we should just help each other in that particular way. But this idea of directory is a good idea. I mean, it really works in Alachua very well. And the devotees enthusiastically participate, and they see the value in it. So, that's part of the community spirit, that we all can be there for each other in tangible ways, not just a pat on the back, but tangibly we can be there for each other. Any others? Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
There you go.
Thank you so much for your lecture. I have a question. So at the end you mentioned Krishna gave the methodology to Arjuna in chapter 2. So my question is, are you referring to the Sankhya Yoga section in part 2 or the Buddhi Yoga section at the end, which comes in chapter 2?
It's in the beginning.
So
The
that's
very
Sankhya
beginning.
Yoga.
Yeah. When Arjuna reveals that, you know, I cannot, oh Govinda, I cannot fight. And Krishna smiles in that particular section. Krishna's leading up to, I'm giving you the methodology, this yoga. Yes?
Hare Krishna, everybody. I have a question about forgiveness. I've always heard this, forgiveness is for yourself, and I understand that. But this question always comes to my mind: how to forgive somebody when the other person has not realized the mistake? You know the person has made the mistake, but how to forgive him when he or she knows that they haven't made a mistake? How would you forgive somebody like that?
You, Joseph.
Okay. Sometime in life, there are many type of people. Agree? Some people they are stubborn. Some people they realize. And some people they know when they made a mistake. And some people will never know that they made a mistake. Then you have to distinguish between those type of people. You have to see with whom you are dealing with. There are people that are very rigid, or they are very ignorant in the same way. Then there's no flexibility with them. Again, it's a lost battle to go and fight with them. Then it will be at your own satisfaction to be in peace with yourself. You just forgive and forget. Okay? What I'm saying here, forgive and forget. Even in our bhakti, Srila Rupa Goswami said, there are like among devotees I'm talking about. No? I'm not talking about others. Is even more difficult. Even among devotees, we talk about offenses. Okay, when you offend someone, you feel hurt. It can be very, very grave offenses. It can be very mild offenses. Okay, whatever it is. But let's say that devotee has offended you. Okay, there are three things that Rupa Goswami said. You either, okay, this is very hard. I'm not saying we will ever do that. Let's say somebody offended Krishna, or offended your guru. You can be very mild, you kill that person. Okay, we don't do that, okay? We don't do that. Then, the other thing what we can do is, we hear that person, we try to have an understanding. And if that person, we achieve an understanding, this is what you're saying, you are in that particular case, that person does not want to agree that he or she made a mistake. She is a dame, or he is a dame, that he is right, but you most probably, you are right and she is wrong, or whatever. Then, if there is any settlement, it's okay, you're a good friend again, or friend. Okay, now, in another situation, that means there's you reestablish your relationship after talking, counseling, or you can bring a mediator. In ISKCON, there is something called ISKCON Resolve. Even there are things in ISKCON that cannot be solved. And even like sannyasi, a great devotee, and even in Srila Prabhupada time, there was a thing that among devotees, they have to go in front of Prabhupada, and there was no solution. The only solution is Prabhupada send this one there and this one there. Okay, what I'm talking about now, if there is a resolution, you get together. If there is no resolution, you forgive. Okay, the other person, whatever they do, you don't care. I'm using that word, you don't care. But you are forgiving. And then you from far, among devotees, you pay your respect from far. You don't have to go there and beg for forgiveness if the person does not forgive. Then there are other stuff also. When you do, for example, an offense mentally, okay? Sometimes it can happen. You don't have to go and fall at the feet of the person and beg for forgiveness until he or she say, okay, I forgive you. Then you are at peace. In your mind, if it's a mental thing, you beg forgiveness mentally. It should not be exactly physical. I don't know if I have answered your question, but there are different levels of offenses, and we call it offenses, where we seek forgiveness. Okay?
I'll tell you a personal story, okay? I was working for